Anita here, and welcome to week 27 of the 52-week illustration challenge. Now, the theme for this week was Canberra, and I actually had to look it up because I was not aware what Canberra was. Well, of course, I knew it was a city, but I didn't know anything about the city. And in my defense, my mind does not really wander towards Australia because let's just say Australia has way too many spiders for me to be really. I don't like spiders. I really don't. That's my probably the only biggest fright, except this weird thing I have with heights. Never mind. Let's just stay with spiders. I'm really afraid of spiders. I can handle the tiny ones as long as they stay away from me and don't come close. But, all the pictures that come on the internet of those crazy spiders and spider nests found somewhere in the beautiful, very virgin land of Australia and New Zealand, it's just blowing up my mind. I can't comprehend. How are you guys actually living there? If any of you lives in Australia, how do you do this? Literally how? Of course, I'm being overly dramatic here, but it's true. I have a fright of spiders, and I really do think that there are very big spiders in Australia, and I keep always saying that, Australia has the spiders the size of cows, and that's the main idea behind this picture. Let me build up to it. So, as a few pictures before, we are continuing the trend that the idea for this picture came to life during one of my live streams. And someone, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who, but thank you so much, suggested that I should use, instead of Canberra, because I was very ignorant about it, and I don't really see anything very inspiring about cities. That's just how my mind works, to each its own. But someone suggested I should use the word cranberries instead, just as a wordplay kind of a deal. And I thought that was brilliant. That was just absolutely brilliant. And I had a lot of different ideas for this picture. To use the cranberries, I wanted to have giant bushes. Again, with the idea that everything in Australia, nature-wise is bigger, at least in my mind. But in this case, I've decided to go for the, spiders the size of cows idea, and the viewers also liked it. So I kind of started drawing this really big spider that also looked like a cow, like a mix. And I have to say, it was really hard to look up the reference for these pictures. Cows maybe not so bad, but spiders, I had to look up cute spider illustration, literally that, on Google, just to get a general idea of how a spider looks like, because I couldn't handle the pictures. I don't know, I know it sounds really lame, but I can't really control I can control it the best as I can, okay? Being scared of something, if you guys have any kind of phobia, you'll know, it's just, sometimes you can't control it. And I still think that I'm doing a pretty good job, because the spiders in my house have a pretty good life. I just stay away from them, they stay away from me, we're happy together, and they take care of my mosquitoes. So, coexistence. So, the picture is, I kind of, once I had that cow spider thing going on, I started thinking further, again, with the viewers. Don't think it's only my work. It's really fun to do sketches like this with other people, because you can kind of bounce the ideas off of each other. It's really, really, it makes your mind so much more creative, especially that some people just give the ideas that you would personally never even think about, and I can build upon that and just get something completely different. So I was really happy with that. And so once that spider cow thing has been established, I really don't remember how I went towards the restaurant, but Yeah, I really don't remember. But in the meantime, before I just start talking a little bit more about the idea, I'm working constantly on the background, and I've tried, this was my idea for this picture. I really wanted to use very pale colors just to see how I would like it. And I really didn't. I really didn't like using pale colors. And as you can see here, I've had a very, very bland wash of color. And now I'm just adding another much more vibrant one. Just because I don't know, I like color. I like what the color does to the paper and how the colors are working on the paper. I don't know, I really wanted it to be brighter. And so even though at first I was drawing, or painting rather, the little bricks and stones on the background wall by hand, in the end I covered everything with a masking fluid just because it was much, much easier to paint over that. And laziness has its limits, even for me. You know, that would be just way too much work to try to go around all the details. And I have to say, this picture took way longer than I expected it to take. This is such an easy picture. There's just a few focal points and a very big background, which I knew exactly what I wanted to do with. But somewhere along the way, I just lost the inspiration. I don't know how to explain that. Everything was fine until a certain point. I was going like a storm, at least that's how you translate it straight from Polish. But I was really, really going for it. It was going very well. And after like an hour or two, I don't know, the good positive energy that I had toward this picture, it just kind of went away. And I'm literally blaming the heat for it, because I just didn't really work well with heat. And it's been really warm, especially when you have like 4 lamps. And yes, I know I talked about trying to paint with 2 lamps in my previous video, but I did not, because it's still, the quality of a picture is much, much better if you have 4 lamps. And yeah, you know, work, you have to do what you have to do. I will just make sure that my eyes are, you know, rested. And so, but it was really, really warm, and I don't know. I really don't know why it happened, but steadily it became much harder to work on it, and this picture took me over 12 hours to finish. That's a lot. That's really a lot. I know that if you're watching me on the stream sometimes, and then you know that I paint really, really slow on streams. But off the stream, I paint quite fast because I don't have, of course, distractions. I'm not talking, I'm just painting. And this picture should take up to 6 hours max. This is not a complicated painting. And yet it took me over 12 hours, and I was shocked. It was 2 in the morning once I finished, around 2 in the morning. And I was really, really tired with it. I just had enough of everything. Of course, the next day I woke up and I looked at the picture. I was like, not bad at all. I like it, and let's do stuff with it. But I remember when I was sitting in the evening and I hated the world because this painting took just way too much time to finish. So yeah, but if you watch me paint, it's such an easy concept that there's nothing really that complicated behind it. It's all really, really simple. I really don't know what happened. Maybe I'm still really missing the vacation I was on. I don't know. But moving on from that, it doesn't matter. It's just, you know, let's call it summer blues. But moving on, as you can see, I'm removing the masking fluid now. And I had a little bit of a problem. It was attaching in some places to the paper. I have no idea why. I've never done that before. However, I think it might be just going old. I don't know. Is that a thing, guys? Do you have any experience with the masking fluid going just old? It didn't really show. It didn't show that much because this was still a stone texture. It looked like in some places there was just a kind of little freckles of masking fluid left behind. Somehow as if the masking fluid just sunk into the paper. And just to make things clear, I did not use a heat gun on it. I did not, of course, the paper was really dry when I used it. Everything was just perfectly fine. I don't know. I'm presuming it's just that the masking fluid went bad. I mean, I've had it for a few years now, so I don't know. Does that happen? So I'm working on a very simple detail here. I'm not even using a background, like the wood pattern as the background, just simple planks. And coming back to this idea, since we have it a little bit closer, as you can see, that spider, a cow, is a chef. He's the owner of the Cranberra diner, and he is serving to a very, very lovely couple on a date. And when I was thinking, I wanted to draw some animals because they are fun to draw, and I was thinking about different animals that I could draw for that would not even remind me of Canberra itself, just of Australia in general. And that's why I've got the idea of a koala from the beginning. And as well, from the stream, someone suggested the platypus, and I was like, yes, that's it, because that's an animal I've never drawn before. So that's, they're on a date. They're on a date, and they're having fun and drinking wine for some reason. I don't know why wine. I just really liked that. Because the spider had so many legs, I really thought it was cool to have him do some different things. And also the viewers on the stream were suggesting that. And so I've decided, too much would be just too busy. I wanted it to be simple. So one leg, I suppose, holding up the ice bucket from the wine, and the other just serving the wine. I thought it would be plenty. And another thing I really liked about this picture that did not really occur till the very end of the painting process was the whole net of... Yeah, actually net is just a spider web. It's just a spider web that's towards the ceiling. You don't see it here because it's drawn with the blue pencil, but that's why I was working just now on darkening the background, because I was planning on painting it with white gouache, but I was afraid that this would look very flat, and if I only painted it with white gouache, that it would look very, very flat, and it wouldn't have enough contrast. It would just, blend together. When you are working with white details, like I do, you have to make sure that the white has something to reflect from, I suppose, to have a contrast. It will look much nicer if it has a darker background. That's why I learned that over the years for example, if I use white in a fur for a white animal, I will use a very dark shade of gray as the shadow and use the white detail as kind of like a highlight. Because if I use if I want the animal to be light gray or white, I will still use a very dark color for it as a base and work off of it just to bring out the white detail. Just because the white really needs a darker background. So whenever I'm painting here, I'm really worried that the background is not dark enough, because once I put on the gouache, I cannot adjust it. The gouache will immediately reactivate and smear. Now, I could use acrylic gouache, and I might experiment with it a little bit in the future. That's something that occurred to me while I was working on this painting, because, sometimes it's really nice to have that option in the end just to retouch something. And with watercolor, I'm not very good at planning. I like watercolor, but watercolor is one of those mediums where you really have to plan what you're doing. That's why my painting process is not exactly like a real watercolor artist would approach, just because I kind of make the medium work for me rather than learn the medium itself like you would supposed to do, I guess. That's why sometimes when I don't plan the white spaces ahead of time, I don't plan the lighter spaces. I tend to work with watercolor as you would normally with acrylic, I guess. You could even compare it to it, because in some cases, for example, there is this little bucket, little bunch of flowers on the table, and the same idea immediately popped in my head, just to cover it with dark color and then bring up some white details as the flowers, instead of just going the other way around like as you would normally with watercolor. Now, I don't have anything against it, but just to let you know, sometimes I worry because a lot of people ask me for advice with painting with watercolor, and every single time, I worry because I'm not really a watercolor artist. I'm an illustrator and I make the medium work for me. I just color with it. So I don't really, as you can see, I don't work with water. I don't really work with that much of the watercolor itself. I don't take everything from it that it has to offer because I don't really need it to do all those things for me, I guess. Oh my goodness, that was a rant. I'm sorry, guys. In the meantime, as you can see, I'm working on the details. At this point, I was really, really tired with the painting, so I wouldn't say it's sloppy, but there is a very big simplicity to it for a reason, especially when it comes to the fur of those two animals. I wanted to have really nice fluffy fur on both of them, with a lot of strokes, with a lot of details, little, tiny hairs. In the end, I did not do any of that. Similarly to that, all the fabrics that are included in the, let's say, diner decor. So there was supposed to be a cloth on the table with a nice pattern on it, and there was supposed to be the same pattern on the back of the chairs and on the little towel that the cow spider is carrying. But in the end, I was just so tired that I settled on the simplest thing possible, which were just some stripes. And which, don't get me wrong, it turned out really nice, but it was something else than I wanted it to be. All in all, I'm really happy with it though. The simplicity actually came out really nice, and I think it's much better than what I had in mind in the first place, because this is quite a small picture. I'm afraid that sometimes I just imagine too many details, and if I put all of them, it will be just way too busy. But as you can see here, I'm putting on those stripes. And for me, when I was painting it, this thing had no end. There was no end to the painting. I was just adding stuff, and it was just, I couldn't find an ending to it. So that's also one of the reasons why this thing is so extremely simple. And also, you don't see me really putting in lines in the video because I had to turn this board quite a lot to get good angles for the lines I was doing. That would surprise me, especially when it comes to the spider web at the top. It was really, really hard to add the white detail at the end. And here you can see me adding the lines to the characters because I just wanted to show you guys that I've done it just the same as I normally do, so with a slightly darker shade of the same color I've used as a base. But the white details, normally that's like the big reveal, and the white details add so much to the painting, and I couldn't record them. Just because I tried to record them sideways, and you will see a part of that footage at the end, very small one, because it became very clear very quickly that I just wouldn't be able to do it. Either I would record it and it would look like a mess, or I would just not record it. I hope you guys understand it, and just make something nice of it. So that's what I've done. I'm not really adding that much white detail. Pretty much adding only the spider web and some little reflections in the eyes, reflections on the bottle and on the glass, and that's pretty much it, because I'm trying not to add that much white gouache to my paintings lately, because it is a complete mess to scan, as I mentioned probably before. So I'm trying to be very I suppose minimalistic with it, and this is exactly what I meant. It was really hard to find the right angle, so this is just the final look at it. That's it, guys. This is the end, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. As you can see, I haven't added so many white details. If you would like to have a better look at this picture, please head to my Facebook page or the 52-week illustration page, group page thingy. It's there, you can see it properly. And yeah, thank you so very, very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!